Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are watching this from in the world. And hello, good evening from the Kassam Stadium in Oxford, where Ipswich Town will be taking on Oxford United in the midst of a really busy old period. Yes, this is the second of the week from hell, the second game from that. It's a week where Ipswich are playing 3 back-to-back away games in the space of 7 days, then coming back into Suffolk with games against Coventry City, the runaway league leaders, and Stoke, who are, I think, second at the moment. They're definitely in that mix. I think they're definitely in that kind of conversation, aren't they, in the way that they've been playing. So that's the run that we have. And we're still right at the start of it, heading into the proper festive period with a Friday night game here against Oxford United, ahead of the Blackburn trip as well. Comes off the back of the game, another game away at Hull City that we had on Tuesday night. It was not a classic, was it? Let's be honest. It was a pretty scrappy, horrible game, but one that was also, for the large part of it, pretty low quality, unfortunately. Maybe started well and then just kind of quickly spiraled out of control into a really poor game. But when you're not at your best, you need to find ways to win football matches, and that's exactly what Ipswich are able to do. Marcelino Nunez ghosting in with, I know it's not his first header of his career. I had that one sent by Callum Brissett, friend of the show, sent me the first ever header he scored back in Chile. But he kind of ghosted in with that opener on the 69th minute, nice, and then the second one. He looked really offside from where I was sat, and you watch all the replays, it wasn't offside at all. You know what? I asked Hugh Rackbom who played the pass. He said it was Jack Taylor that passed it to him. I think it's gone down with Opta as Cinderella Egeli's assist. But Rackbom, right place, right time. For his first Ipswich Town goal. Ipswich win that game 2-0, and that puts us in a really good position coming into tonight's game here at Oxford. Unbeaten in 6 games. They've won their last 3 on the road by an aggregate score of 10-2. 4-1 at QPR, 4-1 at Swansea, and then 2-0 away at Hull in midweek. Can they continue that tonight? We'll find out. Let's run you through some team news then. Forward changes for Ipswich Town, and as a professional that I am, I've got that here for you. Let's put that down the bottom. 4-2-3-1. Walton keeps his place in goal, and it's a pretty consistent back line with that one kind of chopping and changing that we've seen in the left-sided centre-back role. Kipray comes back in. We had Kipray starting. Well, it was Greaves who started against Swansea. They conceded once. Kipray came in for the Wrexham game. It was a clean sheet. Kipray dropped out. Greaves started against Hull, and then Greaves kept a clean sheet in Hull and drops out with Kipray coming back in. The great centre-back chopping and changing of the 2025-26 season. I'm not a fan of it personally, but if it works, it works. Yeah, there's not really a lot of criticism I can make about it. Other than that, the same back line, Darnell Furlong, captain, skipper Dara O'Shea and Leif Davis. Then in midfield, Azor Matasiwa continues. He's playing alongside Jack Taylor this evening. Jens Kuster started in midweek, but came off at the interval with kind of a rolled ankle. He's not in the squad today, so we'll hear some more from Kieran McKenna on that one this evening after the game. So Taylor comes back in, and then 2 changes in the front 4. Hurst and Nunez continue. They're probably the 2 of the 4 that I really wanted to see stay in the team. I know they're the 2 that have the biggest kind of fitness issues, but it's good to have them fit and ready to keep playing. So Hurst leading the line, Nunez in behind, and Jaden Philogene coming in for Jack Clark on the left, and Sindra Walla Egli on the right-hand side. So there is the lineup below me there. 4 changes on the bench: David Button, Ashley Young, Ben Johnson, Casey McAteer, Jacob Greaves, Hubert Akpom, Cameron Humphreys comes back onto the bench in place for Jens Kuster, and then even Azon and Jack Clark. I'm going to spin around quickly and show you. I hope this will work. I'm trying not to whack the cables out of place. The Ipswich players have just come out to warm up. Ahead of me, literally directly ahead of me, is where the away end is. So we'll try and spin. Hopefully it'll work. Can we see all right? Here we go. Welcome to the Kassam Stadium. He says, kind of hopefully. Hope you can see all right there. So there you go. I'm trying to speak over the announcer here. Get everything sorted. There we go. Should we have a look at the Oxford team as well, and then we'll go through and we'll take a look at some of the comments. Oxford's team. No smoking, no alcohol policy in the pitch, guys. 4-2-3-1 for Oxford. I'm going to speak as loudly as I can into the mic so you can hear me. There's 2 changes in this team for them. See Stan Mills come in on the right, and we see Philip Krastev. It's a fun name to say. If you can roll your R's, on the left flank. The rest of that stays the same. So 4-2-3-1, coming in goal. Long, Hellick, Brown, and Curry make up the back line there. Volkson, I've done that wrong. That needs to be changed. It's Kiersmarker. I don't know why I put the Mearsmarker. We'll change that. In midfield, Mills on the right, Krastev on the left. Krastev, of course, got the 95th minute equaliser against Norwich in midweek. So they drew up game 1-1. So Krastev rewarded for that goal with a start here. And then it's the Harrises. We've got, I need to get this right around, Luke Harris on loan from Fulham. He's starting in the 10, and Mark Harris leading the line for Oxford. Let's have a look at some of your comments. A bit of a deep dive into this game. There's a lot of you just saying good evening, and I really like that. Let's run through. Callum, good evening. Shane, good evening. Justin, good evening. Ollie's Bulldogs, good evening. Jamie, good evening. Dino, good evening. Hope you're well. Here we go. One from Ashley. Evening, I'm expecting a comfortable night. Should I be this confident? No, you shouldn't be confident about Ipswich at all this season in any kind of games, because the ones that you're confident going into, I find, are the ones where they tend to drop points. This is now a test for them. Can they come into these kind of games and go and get results? We spoke about the Charlton game last month. I think everyone felt quite confident going into that one. And we had a real shock in that game, and people felt confident going to Wrexham, looking at the absentees that they had, and it didn't really click for Ipswich in that game. So they're a team that maybe when the expectations weigh down, it has been a little bit harder for them at times this season, but on paper, there are enough reasons to be confident that Ipswich can go and take 3 points here today. Absolutely. Look, there are players in this Ipswich Town team who are worth more than Oxford's starting lineup. I don't really want to kind of put that pressure on, but that is ultimately the reality of what you can get in the Championship teams with parachute payments and been in the Premier League, and those who are probably punching a little bit over their weight to be at the level, but doing really well to do so. And credit goes to Oxford. They've been in the Championship. It's their second season now. They came up through the playoffs, beating Bolton in 2023-24, and then stayed up by finishing, I think it was 17th last season. That was one where Des Buckingham got sacked, having taken Oxford up, and Gary Rowett came in to kind of steer them to safety. It's not really worked too well for Oxford so far this season. They are in the relegation zone. They're chasing down Sheffield United at the moment, the team ahead of them, 5 points ahead of Norwich. So they're in a tricky spot where I know the games aren't going to get much easier for them, but anything that involves finishing above the bottom 3 will be a really good season for Oxford. I mean, Gary Rowett, who's a manager I know incredibly well, worked with him quite extensively when I covered Millwall. If you want a solid Championship side, if you want a team that can operate above their means and above their budget, Gary Rowett's the man you want. And you can see that if they're going to be sustainable at this level, he's the guy who's, I think, is going to do it. And interested to see how that goes for him, and whether they're able to back him in January, things like that. But look, on paper, there's a big gap between these two teams. You've got one who, with the title favourites in pre-season, are in really good form, and the other winless in 5. They've only won once here all season in the league, which was against Derby County. So yeah, I can understand enough reasons to be confident, but it's never as easy as that, is it? Let's be honest. Paul Smith, good lineup. I agree, Paul. I agree. I think that it was one off my predicted team. I had Jacob Reeves staying in, but Kieran's really sticking to the centre back rotation, and credit, because it's working at the moment. Other than that, I think it kind of picked itself if Nunez was going to be fit and if George Hurst was going to be fit. And I think it's pretty much the strongest available side possible. David Cook, hi AJ, we need to right some wrongs here tonight. Ipswich haven't won a league game here. I don't know if they've won a game. I'm trying to remember what the record is. I think it's 5 wins for Oxford, 7 draws, and no wins for Ipswich. I can't remember off the top of my head if that's league or all comps, but Ipswich's record's poor here, and it was before my time covering the club. But remember the fog game, the infamous fog game. They've had rain games, plenty of bad nights at the Kassam, but Ipswich under Kieran McKenna are a team that have been able to right wrongs. I remember going to QPR in the promotion season. It was a lot about, well, Ipswich haven't won a league game here or a game at all, and God knows how long. And they went and did that. Hopefully no voodoo here, but I know for a lot of supporters who've travelled here, it's not the longest trip to make, but they have bad memories, and I can understand that one. Shane says, hopefully we can get an early goal. Yeah, early goal feels like the kind of thing that would really crush Oxford, and there's going to be an impetus on them to play quite open attacking football because they're at home, and that's a dangerous thing, because if you try and take the game to Ipswich, that can be a real issue. Swansea found that, QPR found that, Hull to a slightly lesser extent found that, and Oxford don't have the quality of those teams in my eyes, and what that means is you've got a much harder task. And Rowett is a very shrewd manager. He's one who's faced criticism for his style of play a lot at Millwall, and now also at Oxford a little bit more now, where it's become a bit more attritional, even at home. And I think we'll see more of that tonight, but there still has been impetus on the attacking side of things. I'm just not sure how that suits them, to be perfectly honest. And one goal would then really put the impetus on them to go and attack. And I'm not sure how they would cope with that, chasing a game against Ipswich. Looking at the gaps in qualities. Famous last words, of course. There's enough of a banana skin within this, and Oxford can be a tough nut to crack. But that's how I kind of see this half an hour or so before kickoff. Callum, can't get my head around the table at the minute. Ipswich have not been at their best at all really this season by a couple of games. We could go second if we win our game in hand on Tuesday. Mad. So let's set the scene a little bit here. Ipswich are 5th in the championship table at the moment, which in itself kind of feels mad, because I think that the overall vibe around Ipswich, internally and probably more externally, it's not been great, has it? It's been pretty poor. But the division in itself is not great. There is no real top contenders apart from Coventry, and Coventry are really starting to stretch their lead at the summit of this division, and fair play to them. And I don't want to take anything away from Middlesbrough and from Stoke and from Millwall, but they're not the kind of teams you would expect in around the top, and they're not really performing that way. The reason that they're there is because the division hasn't had consistent performance, because Southampton have been poor up until recently, because Leicester have been poor all season. I've seen David Button score the most unbelievable header from the cross. What a weird world. That was a brilliant header from David Button. It's really thrown me off that. Yeah, it is a little bit weird. So I can understand that that's kind of the feeling with how the table is. But yeah, Ipswich will go second tonight if they win. That will either happen if it's a 1-goal victory, they will go top on goals scored. If it's more than that, it will be on goal difference. So no matter what, 3 points today will take Ipswich second. All the teams beneath them, of course, will play tomorrow. That being said, there is that game in hand. That's at Blackburn on Tuesday night. We'll be talking a lot about that in the coming days, of course. So let's get this one out of the way. If Ipswich can end the night in second, you feel like that will be a real boost given how the season has been. Rowett, not a bad player for Cambridge United. Yes, that's true. I'll tell you a little story before we kind of go out onto some of the other comments in a bit. No, he wasn't at all. And at Millwall, it's a very different kind of press setup to what we get at Ipswich. I think that kind of club sizes play a part, in the way that Ipswich operate and Cambridge operate, Millwall, sorry. And with Millwall, it was literally, here's a manager's phone number, a player's phone number, just call them and you can interview them. You get a couple a week, and I'd have a lot of time to sit down and either talk to Guy Rout face to face or have phone calls with him for half an hour to an hour a week. yeah, there's a lot of times we spent kind of reminiscing. You'd ask me, oh, we had this back in the day when I was playing at Cambridge United. What was that like? Is that still there? Is this part of the stadium still there? Is this still there? And that was quite nice. So yeah, he was a good player, and obviously had a good playing career where he was, Everton and elsewhere. So yeah, and he's not making a bad fist of it as manager either. We're going to do another quick team news rundown for those of you that have joined. I'm not going to do the Oxford one because I've got that spelling mistake in there. But yeah, the town team, 4 changes again. We'll just go through this one quickly. We've got Kipray, who's back in. We've got Taylor, who's back in. Nunez back in. And George Hurst back into the starting lineup. 4-2-3-1. That is the team there. As I say, in my opinion, it's kind of how I see Ipswich's strongest team at the moment. In fairness, I think that Kipray is very reliable from what we've seen, barring 1 or 2 little hiccups it's had with Pius throughout. And in fairness, in the way that Taylor's been playing in general, and the partnership that has grown with Azul Matasiwa, I think those are the 2 strongest options there. Migueli, Nunez, Philogene, Hurst. It's a pretty mouth-watering front 4. And of course, there is that kind of debate around the number 10 role. We saw Akpom come on as number 9, having not really performed as a 10. He scored as a striker off the bench in midweek at Hull. But it's not really working in that second striker role. It's not really working for Smodics in that role. Nunez is more of Nunez is more of a creator, more of a playmaker, and I think that's what suits Ipswich more. And I'm interested to see how that's going to work in January. Do Ipswich need to go out and sign a creative midfielder? Sat here at 7:33 on the 28th of November, I think so. I think more creativity is needed. And Hurst with Azon as an option, with Akpom as an option. Interested to see how that works. Obviously, Hurst for me is Ipswich's best option to lead the line, because an Ipswich striker is about scoring goals, of course, but it's also about holding up play, it's about keeping defenders occupied, a lot of different things. And Hurst is the best at that in my eyes. Hope you can hear me over the tannoy. Let's go back and take a look at these. Tractor Factor Steve, I think I got that right. Hello from Cyprus. Hello from Oxford. Tricky fixture against a team we haven't done well against in recent seasons, but tonight will be different. We'll see it out. Yeah, I think so. That's how I feel at the moment. And look, I have a lot of respect for Oxford and what they've done. They've recruited from abroad, they've recruited from lower down the leagues, they've recruited from Huddersfield on a couple of occasions, adding some new players in, like Michael Hellick, who captains the team tonight. They've got experience on the bench from Tom Bradshaw, who's again a person that I know quite well. Others like Mark Harris in there, who I know fans here are enamoured by, but he's got a good experience behind him. They've got the youth of Jamie Cumming, the goalkeeper, Stan Mills, of Tyler Goodrum on the bench, obviously Greg Lee on the bench, formerly of this parish, or more of Ipswich rather. So yeah, there's enough there to be wary of, but there is a gap. Let's not beat around the bush. There is a gap. There is a gap. Okay. Between these 2 teams in terms of kind of quality on paper, in my eyes. Adam Wood says Oxford 1, Ipswich 4. I like that. Adam, I'd like to clean sheet here personally. I have a question for you though, Adam. How much of that is based on the fact that Ipswich have won 2 of their last 3 away games by that scoreline? Is it just like a gut feeling, or is it based on that? Either way, I like that. Who's your first goal scorer picks? Let's have some first goal scorer picks as well as those score predictions. I've gone 2-0 Ipswich. I don't think it's going to be a comfortable win on paper. I think it'll be one that Ipswich will score. It will be a bit of attritional. They'll be pushing for that second goal. Can't quite find it. I know what Gary Rowett sides are like, as I've said. And so does Kieran McKenna, who's referenced that about what a Gary Rowett team is in the Championship. And then maybe with Oxford pushing a few more bodies forward in search of getting something, Ipswich will be able to grab something to kill it off. But I have Jack Taylor scoring the first goal, mainly because I was confident he was going to start. Adam says Norwich fans will be hoping we win tonight. Yes, they will, because a win for Oxford would take Oxford 8 points clear of Norwich City. with obviously a Norwich game in hand. They play QPR tomorrow, but that would be bad for Norwich for sure. Don't go using that as a point if Ipswich were to drop points tonight, though. We all want Ipswich to do well, and Norwich down the bottom is obviously, it's got its humorous sides to it, but Ipswich being the priority here. We're going to do the Oxford team again while we're talking about them, and I'm going to make the change, so I've actually got it written correctly. There we go. Banner. Let's see if I can get it to work. Who knows whether I can or not. It's gone well, this. There we go. Save. Figured it out. Oxford team. 4-2-3-1. Coming in goal. Long, Hellick, Brown and Curry. Brown's an interesting one. I think that he was a doubt after coming off in the final 10 minutes in midweek. But he starts here. I've known him more as a left-back, to be honest, like a defensive-minded left-back. But he's coming and playing in that left-sided centre-back role alongside Hellick, who for me is the big set-piece threat. He's like 6'7" or something stupid. He's got plenty of championship experience. We've seen him play against Ipswich before, I believe, with Huddersfield. He's a good player. He's been at Barnsley previously, I believe. He's a good player. Volks and De Keersmaker is an interesting kind of midfield balance as well. Volks brings the experience. De Keersmaker, quite a dynamic, exciting midfielder. Belgian, been playing from abroad. And then, again, a well-balanced forward line. The two Harrises, one, the playmaker, Luke Harris, yes, Alex. Luke Harris, the number 10, playing behind Mark Harris, the striker, and then the rotating wingers, Stan Mills on the right, who comes back in, and also Philip Krastev, who, as I mentioned, scored the goal off the bench to equalise for Oxford United against Norwich in midweek. So there is your Oxford United team. Just run over. We've done about 22 minutes, so we'll give it another couple, and then I will let you guys get on with your evening. I quite like this stadium. I want to talk about that briefly because I've not had too many times that I've been here, to be perfectly honest. It gets a lot of slack, doesn't it, for the free stands. Should I show you the stands? Should you be able to see the view? The view cinema, not the view, obviously. The view cinema and the Frankie and Benny's over the way. Here we go. More people joining. Give us a wave, Callum. Give us a wave. There we go. Wave from Callum, friend of the show. There's that. Look at that lovely view of the cars and the Frankie and Benny's. But Oxford aren't going to be here that much longer because I think they've had planning permission accepted off the top of my head for a new stadium that's a little bit further out, but it's going to be a new snazzy stadium that they're planning on building. I'm sure it'll be sad for a lot of fans to leave this stadium, given the rise that they've had up from League 2, up into League 1, staying up in League 1 quite dramatically fairly recently, and then coming into the Championship, staying up in the Championship. It's a story that goes under the radar a little bit. I think Oxford's rise up the Football League, so yeah, there we go, nice point there from Horse Holler. That's a great name, by the way. Great car park, he says. They say rather, and come on, you Blues. Great name, Horse Holler. Love that. Sorry for my ignorance. Did we lose this mod last time in really bad fog? Yes. This was before my time covering Ipswich Town. I'm going to get this one up. So this was a 2-1 defeat. I think a lot of people thought this game was going to get called off, didn't they think? The fog game. So how it went ahead, my understanding is, of all the stories, is I think people are still questioning that. And I think it's still actually a sore spot with Kieran McKenna, funnily enough. I think it got mentioned in his last press conference. You could see the pain on his face. Milshut, former Norwich, with the opener. Davis equalising 4 minutes later, and then Cameron Brannigan winning the game in the 83rd minute. Didn't matter, of course, because Ipswich went on to win promotion, but there is a feeling that had that gone another way, had that game been abandoned, and had Ipswich had been able to come back and won that game, then yeah, it would have been a different story in the title race, wouldn't it? So yeah, they missed out by 3 points. Three more points would have seen them over the line on goal difference. We'll take this last one from STST here, and then I'll leave you guys to it. Towns 11 tonight, in my opinion, is the best 11. STST seems to have said that in 3 times. I love the enthusiasm. Yeah, I think I would agree with that in terms of the availability. Is it full stop? I don't know. I think the Kayusta Taylor thing in my head, I'm still trying to figure out, to be perfectly honest. Kayusta's not in the best form, but his ability is probably up there with the best in the squad. Is it a case that maybe his strengths aren't as much suited to the championship? I don't know. Taylor in good form up until the Wrexham game when I thought he dipped a little bit, but players dip, that's okay. You know, we can't just say you have to be perfect all the time. And I'm glad he's got another opportunity here to show that he can consistently play to a top level and really deliver to start week in, week out when he used to fit, when other players are available. I'm a really big fan of Jack Taylor, as I think people know. And other than that, I think it's kind of, yeah, I would agree when you look at, I suppose maybe one of the debates is Kickray or Greaves. I think Kickray is more reliable at the moment. The front line for me is the best. I know, again, a bit of a debate on Jack Clark v Jaden Philogene. For me, Jaden Philogene is just able to deliver some real incredible magic moments, whereas Jack Clark is the one who pops up. It's not necessarily saying it's hard to describe. I think that Philogene's quality and class is spectacular, but when you need something late on, someone to dig deep, someone to beat a man, score a goal, that's Jack Clark. And Jack Clark, the super sub, is a hell of a player, isn't he? We're going to end with this last one here as we hear, I love this song. Andy Cowboy 2080. If we're serious about promotion top 2, this is a must win for me. Yeah, I understand that, and I think that there will be some question marks if Ipswich don't win this game. It seems to be that we kind of swing, don't we? Where we had the Wrexham game, we're annoyed off the back of really good performances in that kind of 3-game week with QPR, Watford, and Swansea. Then we have the Wrexham game after the break. They don't lose it, but it's really frustrating the way that they weren't able to get the win. Hull, yeah, plenty of positives, but a poor performance. Ipswich are yet to fully convince, and getting 3 points here will go a long way to fully convincing and putting out a statement that this team, this group of players is good enough to be in the top 2 and challenge, maybe, who knows, push Coventry City for the championship title. This feels like a great way to end it with this in the background. Thank you guys for joining me. Let me just plug a few things. We've got an offer going on the EADT for subscribers. So if you want to go sign up, I'm not 100% sure what that is, but go check it out. It's pinned on our website. This is a good chance to sign up. We'll give you a little taster as well tonight. The live blog is free to everyone for tonight's game. So come and see what our coverage is like of that. A good chance to come sign up ahead of a really busy run of games. Blackburn, Coventry, Stoke, Leicester on the horizon. Then Sheffield Wednesday. And after the Sheffield Wednesday game, we've got KOA Live 3. Come and join us for that at the Boston Ipswich. Tickets are £10 plus a small service fee. Bars open late. We're going to be talking all things Ipswich Town. We would love to see you there. Lots of audience interaction. Plenty of reasons to go and join us for that. We're also running a competition as well as for subscribers. You can join us in the press box, not this press box, but the Portman Road press box for the game against Preston North End in January. As a competition winner, you will have the chance to join us for that one. Again, details are on the EADT website for our latest offer for the competition, and I'm sure as well we'll have KOA Live. Go check it out. Go get involved. We'll see you guys on the other side. Kick off in 15 minutes. The live blog is up. All the updates coming up from me here at the Kassam Stadium. And we'll see you on the other side. Thank you for joining me.